Approve agenda. Becky makes a motion. Allison seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Approve claims to date. Mark makes a motion. Richard seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. I'm going to read all of these. There's a lot. Approval of personnel and ECA recommendations. Somebody will have to help me with this last name. Shelby Duvalis, new hire, BSc multi-category disability teacher. Genevieve Ball, new hire, BSc developmental pre-K teacher. Casey Bass, new hire, BSc third grade teacher. Sadie Cyphers, new hire, BSc receptionist, brand ambassador. Addison White, new hire, BSc instructional assistant. Cameron Smith, new hire, BSc third grade teacher. Megan DeHart, BSc instructional assistant to first grade teacher. Jessica Whitlow, new hire, BSc first grade teacher. Sarah Russell, resignation from BSc emotionally disability teacher. Ashley Thomas, resignation from BSc developmental preschool teacher. Cassidy Smith, resignation from SMS 8th grade science teacher. Kathy Gilliott, resignation from full-time bus driver to sub-driver beginning June 1. Sarah Calhoun, resignation from SHS business teacher. Derek Early, transfer from SMS PE teacher to SMS 7th grade social studies teacher. Monica Spalding, transfer to SMS digital citizenship. Blair Thompson, transfer from SMS digital citizenship teacher to SMS PE teacher. Emily Johnson, transfer from BSc third grade teacher to BSc STEAM instructor. Crystal Michaels, BSc STEAM instructor. Logan Cockram, summer softball strength and conditioning coach. Randy Nichols, SMS summer school jumpstart. Chelsea Cobb, maternity leave. Addie Chastain, volunteer assistant volleyball coach. Tyler Sizemore, volunteer assistant football coach. Tom Cyphers, volunteer assistant boys soccer coach. Amy Craig, student teaching at BSc without pay, dates 8/3/21 to 10/29/21, resume current position immediately following student teaching. Pam Barrick, BSc kindergarten camp, July 29th through 30th. Allison makes the motion. Ray seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Donations. I will read both of these. Consider approval of a donation to Salem High Athletic Department for $1,000 from an anonymous donor. This donation is to be used to purchase equipment upgrades for the track team. Consider approval of a donation to BSc from the Salem Education Foundation for $1,491. These funds are to be used for 7 to 12 month ESGI licenses for kindergarten teachers. Allison makes that motion. Mark seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Now we have our Community Support Business Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're into kind of the fun part of the evening. Mr. Minton and Mr. Scott are going to lead us with our recognition awards. And first, we start with our Community Business Partnership. I'll let Mr. Minton kind of go over the majority of it, but tonight we get to honor Eddie Gilstrap Motors, and Mr. Minton, Mr. Scott will do the duties.
So tonight our Community Business Partner Award is the Sagamore of Salem. It says, hereby Eddie Gilstrap Motors is committed for your support to the students and staff of Salem Community Schools. Hereby Eddie Gilstrap Motors is deemed a forever family member of the Salem Community School system for their commitment to students, staff, and the Salem community. Hereby, Eddie Gilstrap Motors is awarded the most prestigious award, the Sagamore Salem Award for selfless dedication to the field of education, the state of Indiana, Washington County, and specifically Salem Community Schools.
I want to thank you. This award means a lot to me, and I was on the school board for many, many years. And I love every minute of it. I miss it today. Well, thank you, Salem Community Schools, very much.
Thanks, Steve.
George wants the picture. Oh, I got another one.
What in the world?
Somebody's cracking up.
thought that was Dwayne's phone out there.
I need to be able to see it first. Tonight, we are also going to recognize our transportation department and staff. We have a general award that goes to the transportation department that will be placed in their office area. And then we have individual awards for each of our transportation department. So I'm going to call each one of them up. They come up. We have Dee Dee Zink, Mark Coombs, Keen Garvin, Don Newby, Bill Ackerman, Marilyn Gross, Wanda Day, Kathy Gilliott, Maria Knapp, Rick Hurst, David Weaver, David Jackson, Debbie Jackson, Sheila Hawes, Jeremy Lee, Dwayne Malloy, Lisa Getz, Kevin Lee, Johnny Huff, Susie Deich, Ashley Williams, Patty Hamilton, Jean Elgin, Pam Ingram, Tina Sorrells, Charlene Williams, Paul Holsapple, Tina Ransom, Lori Highfill, Kimberly Hahn, and Kent Bills.
Ladies and gentlemen, probably one of the most difficult, but also at times one of the most thankless jobs is one of our transportation department. We go back all the way to the start of last school year, we had no idea how COVID was going to play out. All we knew is we had tin cans with a whole bunch of kids on it. How's the virus going to affect us? And this group of individuals braved some interesting conditions to do what's best for our kids and our schools. So we're happy to give this certificate. I know it is not enough. I just want to say thank you guys for everything you've done all year and putting up with these conditions. We couldn't, I don't know if you know this, you can't have school without buses. So without these lovely men and women, our school doesn't operate. So thank you again. We sincerely appreciate each of you.
That's what we're saying. How would you get all these guys together?
Hey, can you swap out with somebody in the back?
Who are you talking to? That's a smart move. You got it. It's good, I think. I think it's good. It may not.
Thank you.
Brand ambassadors of the school, we need to get you all in the picture, so. Dwayne, we need you to lay on the floor across.
I think it's okay, Mark. I think it's okay.
Get it off.
There we go.
These are helpers, and that's the class.
No, other way around. Those are the class.
Okay, well, I just read the title.
Yeah. Oh, there's two different groups, if you look. Okay. I got to find that letter. Gail's first, yeah. All right, our next group that we're recognizing tonight are our Unified Track Team members and the helpers from those groups. First, from the elementary school, we'll call each one of these. If you would come up, please. If you don't know, our Unified Track Team traveled to Paoli back in May and did really, really well. And there may be some people who want to talk about that, but we'll see. So our Unified Track Team members, Waylon Boulay. Come on up, Waylon. Landon Burr. Daniel Carty. Lakota Smith. Claudia Spear. Dale Spear. And Aliana Stovall. And then the Unified Track helpers were Kason Blankenbaker, Keely Blankenbaker, Joey Cantrell, Knox Cantrell, Jaslyn Edge, Levi Lanham, Riley Lanham, Carter Reardon, Taylor Reardon, Maddox Wilson, Gail Morgan, Tammy Rippey, Brianna Backus, Angela Kay, April McCoskey, Muriel Oakes, Clinton Blankenbaker, Renee Wimsat, Stephanie England, and Mandy Preeb. Again, this is from the elementary school. It happens. It happens. Tammy?
Tammy went right there.
Who are you looking for? Angela Kay's right here.
Okay. Thank you.
April.
Take Brianna's. There you go.
April. Unified Track members. Ms. Churchman was supposed to be here tonight, and she ended up having something that came up that she couldn't be here, and she had something she wanted me to read. Said, Unified Track has been a wonderful opportunity for our kids to finally be able to try out a sport and not feel left out. In many cases, even if they want to try out for a sport, they get nervous and decide not to. This is an opportunity that can do a sport like, this is an opportunity that they can do a sport like everyone else and also be comfortable because they have more students like them participating. They just have so much fun being together and meeting people like them from other schools. I had a student who told me after it was over that it was her favorite day ever. Something that may not seem like a lot to some kids meant everything to this student in particular. And that is why we do these types of things. So I'm going to call up the Unified Track members. Hunter Taylor, Mason Doyle, Kenny Flamion, Zoe Dewey, Billy Dearborn, Jenny Dearborn, Katie Brown, Addison Herr, and Braden Bontrager. And then the helpers for the Unified Track team, Miranda Churchman, Luke Fleener, Waylon Foster, Haley Cole, Gus Hanjagoras, Camden Abbott, DJ Ward, and Nate Henry.
All right, now we'd like to recognize some of our track athletes who qualified for regionals. Really impressive that we have so many people who are able to qualify for that. Real testament to our great track program. So first, in the 100-meter dash, Trevin Smedley. And then our 400-meter relay team, also Trevin again. And then clap for him again if you want to. Brady Sutton. Not here. Yeah. Grant Mahiran. And Reese McCoskey. Not here. See, all these fast people not here. That's silly. All right, and then 400-meter relay alternates, Braden Cummings and Dylan Whitfield. All right. Well, clap again for these guys. I don't have that list yet. Sure. Sure. All right. Okay, now I got to pull from memory. I think, Carter, you did the pole vault. Is that right? High jump. I knew he jumped over something. All right, you got Carter Izell. You can clap for him, too. There we go. Good job. All right. And the coach. Josh Lewis. Here you go. All right, and then our girls track regional qualifiers in the high jump, Ashley Stevenson and Coach Roger Bundy. All right, then we also want to recognize our fantastic FFA program. They've done some great things. I know they're out at the fair doing stuff as well right now, and Seth Perlee leads that, so we want to give Seth an award for all the great stuff he does with our FFA program and all our ag programs, a bunch of other stuff here at the school. So we don't see him, so you can clap for him anyway.
These guys were fast. I kept trying to get their attention. So I just want to say just a couple things. So our unified track and field athletes, a couple cool little side stories. It's always cool to have a message from a surrounding school superintendent that just wanted to compliment us about how well behaved and how enthusiastic our crew was. So to have a surrounding school say how impressed they were with us, that was real special. And then to have the police escort come back into town, that was really cool. So thank you guys for what you've done. Thank to our student athletes, our helpers, and our sponsors and supervisors. Unified athletics is really cool, and it's really now expanded at the high school level, so it's something that I know we will continue. So thank you. For our boys and girls track athletes, to advance out of the sectionals this year under all the conditions that you've had to endure, that's really pretty special. So having done athletics my entire life, to persevere over a year of COVID, not have the access to the training I know you wanted, not have the access to all the competition you wanted, but to put Salem on the map again and to advance in the state tournament, it's really pretty cool. So thank you, Coach. Thank you, athletes. I appreciate your efforts. And I know Coach Purley is not here, but we had our FFA team advance to the state finals again. I know he's out. I think he's at the fair right now working. So he can't hear us, but we'll say thank you to him anyway. His leadership of the FFA program is greatly appreciated. So thank you all for coming.
I was supposed to text him.
Just blame me. It's okay.
My bad. I texted him, but
It's okay.
Did any of the coaches want to say anything? I know we're losing Mrs. Morgan, who's retiring. We appreciated all the work she's done here as well. Speech, Mrs. Morgan, anything to say? Anything you...
Just keep it going. It's a great program. And just continue on the way you've been going, and then it moves on into high school and unified track. It's amazing. You know, these young athletes have a great time. So they will, next year they'll start in January practicing, not 2 weeks prior. So just for Salem schools to continue to support the students at the moderate and severe levels. That's all I ask.
And we rocked those tutus, by the way.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all your work. We do appreciate it. So that's all for the Roar Awards, and if you would like to leave now, the rest of it's a little boring. So unless somebody else wanted to talk, you're welcome. We'll take a minute here and let you, anybody that wants to leave. She didn't come with me.
Very nice to meet you, sir.
he's an old friend.
Thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
From one old friend to another. That's the only way I know.
I appreciate it. That means a lot. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thanks, man. Thank you. Terry, you can move to the front if you want. You ready for your speech? Are you ready for your speech? Terry coaches softball with me. She's the life.
Spring.
No. Hired a counselor. She helps me, so that's proof right there.
He'll tell you later.
Do we have any comments from Janet? Anybody sign up to? Nobody?
It's covered, she really can't tell you.
And there is?
No, there's anyone.
Mr. Suvak didn't sign up to talk today. No comments. We're looking to see if anybody signed up to talk.
No, I'm peaceful.
Okay. We're glad to have you here. Good to see you. Action items, here we go.
Ready to jump up top.
Consider approval of the property and casualty insurance renewal.
We have, I hope I don't slaughter your name, Jason. Did I say it right? Bukowski? Ah! That's that is a football name. Jason with Moore Shepherd Insurance is going to talk about our approval or consideration of approval of our property and casualty insurance. Dr. Thurston has assured us that he has great information and news for us tonight that he wants to share, so I'll turn the floor over to Jason.
Very good, thank you. I did send a summary to Dr. Thurston earlier last week. Were you all given that information?
I
brought
was.
extras in,
Yes.
didn't?
Oh, they were not, probably. I was.
Okay.
Oh, it's on. It just goes through the. Yeah.
I just dusted the eardrums of those at home. Thank you for dismissing the crowd from my boring insurance speak tonight. Again, thank you again for having me. My name is Jason Bukowski at Moore & Shepherd Insurance. This is the 4th year that our agency's been able to help Salem School Corporation, and we appreciate the opportunity. This year had challenges for you, we know. Thank you for your persistence, for all the things that you do to keep schools open and students safe. We work very closely with administrative office throughout the year to help you do that, and hopefully we played some small part. As you go to page 3, I provided just a very small summary in your packet to talk about this year's renewal. All of the insurance carriers' terms and conditions from last year to this year remain the same unless otherwise noted. And so this summary appears to be a little bit short. If we had the entire summary, it'd be very thick. So we wanted to save time and certainly just make ourselves available to explain a little bit about what happened through the renewal process this year and make ourselves available to your questions. As you can see there, our premium is down considerably this year, about $18,000 less premium than you paid last year. And if you, again, if you look back to when we started our business relationship back in 2018, our premiums have remained fairly level throughout those years and down this year. I can tell you that your workers' comp is the driver of that savings. You had a mod decrease. Mod is an insurance term, really is a report card of a 4-year snapshot of claims history related to your workers' comp. That's handed down by the state work comp bureau, and so it has nothing to do with Shepherd or our carriers. That mod is a factor in determining the premium for your workers' comp, along with a couple of other items. And so when the mod drops, we see a considerable savings and decrease in premium. A majority of the $18,000 overall decrease this year is stemming from that mod decrease in that workers' compensation category right there. I can tell you, in your packet, I included some additional information for you to read later related to cyber liability. I know as schools continue and have been forced this year to be more and more dependent on technology, dependent on at-home learning. I'm sure that will continue down the road. Our cyber liability, cyber claims, data breach, those attackers are active more than ever. We're seeing a much higher instance in frequency, but also in severity of those claims. Knock on wood, Salem has not had a cyber liability claim since we started doing business, and that's one of the policies that we implemented when we started working with you guys 4 years ago. So I would encourage you to support your IT department. I know you do. We worked with their IT department through this renewal process. Premiums are going up in that category. They did go up for you in this category this year. We recommended a change in carrier. Again, not a change in coverage, but a change in carrier, which saved you guys about $2,000 from the incumbent carrier and their renewal offer. Again, we're going to identify every category of insurance this year, or every year, and try to save where we can. That was one change that we did recommend this year. Any questions on insurance premiums this year? Very briefly there, a summary of changes that we did make You guys were very quiet this year. We made some changes on autos, buses, deleting and added some drivers, things like that. I can tell you, tank pollution is, again, an area for you this year that was a little bit cumbersome. The incumbent tank pollution carrier gave us a good renewal, but wanted to increase our deductible from $10,000 to $25,000. That's a significant transfer of risk. We did go to the market, and we did find an alternative carrier. It is not represented right here. Again, we're continuing to work on that. It's not represented in your summary, but when Dr. Thurston returns, we'll talk to him about those options and try to find a new carrier for tank pollution that lowers your risk. We think that's going to be a good deal. Again, things from last year as far as deductibles and liability limits, umbrella limits, things like that, all the same as the year before. One other thing I'll talk about, we know that the market for building materials and labor is on its head right now. If anybody's trying to build a deck on the back of their house, it's almost as expensive as the house, right? With lumber and labor. We did enact what we call inflation guard. You have about $109 million of total building values here, including your contents, and that's a 4% increase from last year. So inflation guard is there to ratchet up that limit every year to keep pace with that. Through our renewal process, we did go through every individual building and making sure that we have enough insurance on replacement costs if heaven forbid, we had a catastrophic event where we lost any property or any building here. I think we're in pretty good shape with almost $110 million there. Questions at all? Again, we appreciate your team. Your administrative staff, everybody there in that office communicates so well with us, and that is a key part of a successful relationship, and we appreciate that communication that you all provide us. If no questions, thank you for the opportunity to work with you.
Yeah, anybody have any questions? He did a nice job since we came to him, I think, 2 years ago. And, you know, the difference in building cost and the co-insurance clauses and stuff, I think he's done a great, he's on top of it coming from an insurance guy. He knows what he's doing, 100%. I wish the experience might have translated into our health insurance, though. Then we might be looking at better health insurance rates. So hopefully our work comp starts to trend towards our actual health claim.
We'd love to talk to you about that aspect of insurance as well.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Hey, we appreciate it, Jason. Thank you. So with that, would you consider approval of the property and casualty insurance renewal? Mark makes the motion. Ray and Allison second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. There we go. All right. The next one I'm super excited about. Terry's here to give a speech. Terry coaches with me, and she's a counselor, so I needed a counselor when Dwayne left so that somebody to talk to me. But she's also a counselor for LifeSpring, and we're looking to partner with them and to consider an approval of a health clinic contract with LifeSprings. I didn't know how, did you want to talk, or they have a packet that they can answer.
I think you're here just to answer
Just to answer questions.
So if you have any questions, we do have a packet. It details all the information about a school-based health clinic that's partnering with our agency. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I think all the information is pretty detailed in there, pretty specific.
I'll ask Brent to give a quick rundown.
Okay, so the clinic will be available to students and staff. It'll be housed at our elementary school. There will be a nurse practitioner that will be on site 5 days a week. And students will be able to attend with parent permission. We're going to ask parents to sign off and get permission to be able for the student to go there. At that point in time, if a student does go, LifeSprings will also contact the parent to let them know they're there. And then they will be able to also get medication if they need it, or get a prescription to go get the medication. I don't know, what else, Terry, am I leaving out here?
One of the things is the parents, when they're contacted, it could be either by phone or by telehealth. The parent could participate in the session by telehealth. All parent, nothing will be done without parent consent. So, and one of the things that it will do is it'll remove barriers for students and families. So it'll keep a parent from having to leave work to come get their student. There will be on-site, there'll be antibiotics that can be prescribed, point of care testing for strep throat, flu, mono, things like that. So it's just going to have more accessibility to health care for our students, as well as employees can use the clinic as well.
Yes, it is accessible for all students and staff of Salem Community Schools.
Yes.
And antibiotics will be at no charge, right?
I believe so.
I think that's right. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's right.
I think you're right.
Yes,
Obviously, there will be no controlled substances.
yes.
So, but yes, we'll have limited formulary for antibiotics.
Some questions from board members that weren't part of that. Go ahead, Ray.
Regardless whether on the school health insurance,
Yes, so regardless of whether they're on the school health insurance, they would come to the clinic, and the process would be the same as if they'd go through the same front desk process as a student with all patients. If they don't want to use the sliding fee scale, that's fine, but they wouldn't get the benefit of the discount. So if they're using the sliding fee or the health insurance, they'll get the benefit of the discounts provided with the clinic.
And it's not a requirement if they do go to the clinic and you do have other health insurance, you don't have to stay a patient of theirs. So there's no requirement that you must become a patient of theirs in order to utilize their clinic.
So anyone, even if a student is seen and say their pediatrician is with Salem Pediatrics, then our our nurse practitioner would provide that documentation to their pediatrician or their family care doctor. So it would almost be kind of like, I could relate it to like an urgent care clinic where you're going for that appointment that's needed that day for a student or employee.
Access would not be denied for ability to pay.
Right.
If they needed meds outside of there, it's going to be discounted through
It should be
Steve Davison's
Good Living Pharmacy.
Good Living
is who we
Pharmacy will
contracted
be,
with.
yes.
Since it's a federally qualified healthcare center, we have that contract with them to be able to provide medication at discounted rates for free.
Any other questions?
So, any questions from anyone?
This is going to be a great benefit for our students and our staff.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction as far as health insurance, and I know faculty and teachers, administration we have here today, I think this is a step towards helping that out. And it's social, emotional also, not just medical care as well. Can you talk about how does that look as far as the social?
That is correct, but while she's waiting to get the microphone.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you go by. I didn't plan that, Terry, sorry.
So Tom, he's the one that's going back and forth.
Tom, yes.
Playing well. I'm used to that. So, as far as the social emotional, we have a licensed clinical social worker who works in the schools on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. She's there all day. So she would be at each school system, and then we would also try to have more availability. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes.
Just to explain that.
Okay.
Any more questions from the board?
Would that be like a possibility, like for, like crisis assessments and things of that nature, can you work like in that manner?
The clinic is staffed with a nurse practitioner and a medical assistant or an LPN, so they don't typically do the crisis assessments, but that could be something that we could pull possibly a therapist in to do those.
Any other questions?
Other questions?
We appreciate you, Terry,
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
coming. That's I think this is a huge asset. Will be a huge asset to our school. John, did you have any comment?
Yeah, I'm a former consumer of different product, but kind of changes the accessibility and the options for staff and for your family. It's a great opportunity, and to my knowledge, we'll be the only school in Washington County with this level of service available for our staff. But then when you expand upon it and the possibility of helping our students, this could be really transformational for the entire community. So pretty cool moment. So George, will you put this in the paper for us? Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's so many things that they're going to offer there. With that, any more questions? Nothing. Yeah, we appreciate you too. 8, consider approval of health clinic contract with LifeSpring. Becky makes a motion, Allison seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand. Number 9, consider approval of Amy Abner for reappointment to the Washington County Library Board.
Kind of self-explanatory on this one.
Yeah, no, she's. Allison makes the motion, Mark seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand. Consider approval of an overnight and out-of-state field trip to U of L cheer camp, SHS cheerleaders, Rachel Huffaker, July 15th through July 18th. Ray makes the motion, Allison seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand. Good job. Consider approval of an overnight and out-of-state field trip to Kings Island, 6/22 through 6/23 for the girls basketball team with Coach Hickey. Allison makes a motion, Mark seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand. Consider approval of updated policies. Brent will.
At the last board meeting, we had the first reading of our new policies. So it started off with policy 151 and concluded with policy 9700. So and what we do is first line from the first one and last line from the last one. So policy 151 starts with the school board shall organize annually on or before January 15th at a meeting held in accordance with law. And 9700, I think that's what I said, isn't it? Yeah, 9700 concludes with, if approved in accordance with the superintendent's criteria, a copy of the results and the proposed manner of their communication are to be provided to the superintendent for review and approval before they are released. We do recommend that that the board approve these policies.
Allison makes a motion. Ray seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Consider approval of the BSC, SMS, and SHS handbooks.
That's a traditional aspect of the summer where each building updates their handbooks. I would anticipate even some more adjustments post July 1 based on changes with health updates. But this is the first step for the process. So if there's an adjustment, it would be a simple addendum to the handbooks.
Allison makes the motion. Mark seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Number 14, consider approval of BSC, SMS, and SHS book rental fees for the 2021-2022 school year.
Similar with the handbooks, it's the traditional aspect of approving book rental fees. Our goal is to continue to lower the cost, and as we transition to more digital resources, it's going to continue to go down. So there's as we've moved to one-to-one devices, book rental companies have become pretty slick, so they charge you for the electronic versions instead of just the paper version. But still, we're working to reduce the cost for our parents.
Allison makes the motion. Ray seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand. Consider approval of the athletic handbook.
We'll go right along with it. Asked Hank to update our athletic handbook, so we'll also be putting it electronically on our website. He's done a nice job putting it together. There's going to be a section later here where he'll do a presentation, so if you have other questions you could ask, but this is just an update on our procedures and policies for our student athletes.
Becky makes a motion. Allison seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Consider approval of affidavits for payment.
Yeah, I have this from Doc, and it's I'm going to read verbatim what he wrote down. This is from the ISBA. Indiana State Board of Accounts recommends the school board approve affidavits for payments prior to submission to the U.S. Bank in Louisville. There are 2 affidavits for payment payable from the 2021 Construction Fund for Consultation Services. The first affidavit contains payments to Baker Tilly for $62,221.59, Ice Miller for $41,046.29, and Covert Hawkins for $26,663.76, Thomas Cyphers, DC, for $6,020.85, Salem Title Corporation for $6,430. The second affidavit was received later in time for the board meeting. This is Covert Hawkins for architectural services pertaining to the safe room projects in the amounts of $54,277.24. The charges for both affidavits are services related to the issuance of the bonds and consultation for the safe room projects. Recommended approval, kind of standard operating procedures of how we pay the claims and get reimbursed.
Allison makes a motion. Ray seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Number 17, consider approval to declare useless and obsolete equipment from SMS and Transportation Department.
I don't have the wording on it, but again, we've got just some of the traditional aspects. School corporations accumulate things that are no longer used, and we have created a little bit of a pile across the corporation. So this just gives us the opportunity to dispose of the items that are no longer of any monetary value.
Allison makes a motion. Mark seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand. Dr. Thurston's at a Nickelodeon resort with his grandkids. He told me he signed up to get slimed. Yeah. So. Next one, items from staff. Any items from staff? Lonnie? Just happy to be here.
3 weeks off.
Yes.
And the band was the Grand Marshals in yesterday's fair parade.
I saw you. Yeah.
And Mr. Garvin is not here tonight because he and his wife are working at the bandstand up at the fair.
Gotcha.
At the parent bandstand. So go by, have a burger, have some fries. The fries are legendary.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Any other comments, concerns from staff? Anything? Going once, going twice? Non-action items. Next up is our Salem Athletics report from our AD, Hank Whedon. He's here for a handout because he had to pay for a wedding here on Saturday. His daughter got married. He's broke now. So.
Coach Whedon, I'm going to give you the clicker.
Sir.
If Coach Scott put all this together, I believe it's all seamless. So I think you're ready to.
Okay, yeah. I did just have a busy weekend. About 30 years ago, Steve Martin did a film, Father of the Bride, and I thought it was meant as comedy. I didn't realize it was a prelude and a warning, but it was a wild one. Yeah, we got, appreciate you having me here. I just kind of talk about the state of affairs, if you will, just kind of Salem athletics over the year. And just kind of, our conference, as most of us know, is Mid-Southern Conference, the MSC. -1 now. Clarksville has dropped out. Madison is, they're vying to try to get in. I got a little messed up there when I sent it. So they are looking to try to get in, and that's something that's going to be voted upon here pretty soon. We are currently at 9 teams and possibly go back to 10. Some varsity sports, just kind of give you an overlook of what we do offer here. We offer 19 of the 20 IHSAA sports. Gymnastics is the only one that we do not offer, which is pretty typical of most schools in the state. We also offer cheer and dance, which are not considered IHSAA sports. And just kind of let you know also, it's not athletics, but we kind of put underneath our umbrella. We kind of got started. The shotgun shooting class or club, and they've been competing in the spring. We've got Josh Brewer runs that, does a great job. We got some kids, just give them different opportunities. This year we started, we're hoping to get started last year with archery, but because of COVID, we kind of got pushed back. So we started that this year with some classes, and next year I've got a handful of people now that are certified to teach it. So it's not just me trying to slip in and teaching classes. So we'll have that up and running and have a club there as well. So again, not being a varsity sport, but it is something for kids to have another option. And I do know Garrett Ellis at the middle school has the bass club going. So we've got a lot of stuff for our small community for people to be involved. Just kind of a interesting number here, just give you an idea of what our student population looks like. Last 4 years, you can see our enrollment, and you can see the number of student athletes that we have. So, like this year, a great number there. Just under half of our students also participated in sports. So, we're usually stay right in that area. Last year, maybe a little bit off because we had to go off of who had signed up on our final form since we didn't actually have a spring season, but it falls right there in the category. Okay, that kind of got shifted around a little bit too. But just kind of explain it for you there. Just looking at this year, we have 134 female athletes, 125 male athletes. That should be 2 sports, female 41, male 35 2-sport athletes, 3 sport, female 10, male 23, and we had 1 male that was a 3-sport athlete. Sorry, played all 3 sport or 4 sport. I'm sorry, 4-sport athlete. Last year, you can see the numbers there. We got 133 females, 119 males. 2-sport, which should be female 33, males 31. 3-sport athlete is female 10, male 12, and a 4-sport athlete, we have 1 male, not the same person it was the year before. So it kind of shows you how many kids participate in multiple sports, which is what we're really trying to encourage, and it seems like our numbers are starting to go back up again. Just some history of our school. We got championships for sectionals, 52, regionals, 8, semi-state championships which was 2020 season with the girls basketball team make the state finals. We don't have any team state championships. There have been a lot of individuals and other teams that advanced to regional, semi-state, or state finals by qualifying, but they didn't necessarily win, regional or semi-state. They placed well enough to keep competing. So we've had a number of that, especially in track and cross country. This is a stat that I think is pretty interesting. I think people that follow our athletic program ought to look at and just kind of understand. Because you hear sometimes people say, well, we used to win sectionals a lot back in the 90s and all that. They go to class basketball. We move sectionals. We were kind of the big fish in that Paoli sectional. I know for basketball, football was playing some other schools that we were probably the big fish in that pond too overall. But if you can see right here, just in our MSC, which is basically the same teams that we compete in sectionals against. Football is a little different. They moved us to a different one. But you got Silver Creek was a school that just a few years ago was maybe a little smaller than us. And just in a few years, you can see they are now 317 students larger than us enrolled-wise. You can just see the top schools there. So the next one nearest us, North Harrison, is 147 larger than us. The ones below us, Brownstown is still 3A at this point, but they're in a different sectional for most of the sports. Then you see Eastern and Austin are 2A, and they play in different sectionals as well. So just kind of an interesting number to see where as I think a lot of times people think we are still one of the bigger schools in our conference. And that has, Charlestown, when I was in school at Charlestown, of course, that was just a couple years ago. But when I was there, we were about the exact same size. When I got here 27 years ago, we were still within about 5 to 10 students. And now there's a huge separation. This is just 2021 results. You can kind of see where we're at. The number in parentheses, that's the number of athletes we had in that sport. So you can see some are really high. We've got some great numbers in some of the sports. Some of them are a little down. But again, when in our strategic planning, some of the stuff we discussed was when you offer so many sports, it does pull from other, we added soccer years ago in the fall. That's obviously going to pull some from cross country, some from boys tennis, some from girls golf. There's just a number of football, you name it. We've added in recent years, it's been a little while now, but wrestling, we've got soccer. You look at some of the other schools around us, some of them don't have all these sports. So it's kind of it kind of plays a factor on these numbers. And just real quick here, the historical results, you can kind of just see where we're at with each sport. Again, the most recent success was the girls basketball team. Recent years won a handful of 3 out of 4 years won sectional, 2 regionals during that time, and a semi-state. And like you guys recognize today, we've had a number of kids advance each year for track or cross country. This year we had a cross country participant freshman that went to semi-state. So obviously, you know, you look for hopefully some big things for her for the next 3 years. We've placed 9 athletes on the state all-star teams, 2 in basketball, 4 in football, 1 baseball, 1 softball, and 1 volleyball. We've had multiple athletes that's gone on to play at collegiate level. A lot of them are D3 or NAIA, but we've also had a few scholarship D1, D2 players as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But first hit the COVID. Just kind of give you an idea, because I know there's a lot of impact on COVID with everything, obviously. I thought this year I was so proud of our athletes. I was proud of our coaches, and super thrilled that we had Mallory Myers, our trainer. She did a tremendous job this year, as did everybody. We've had a couple times where we got quarantined, a team got quarantined for 14 days or whatever. But we got through that and we came back out playing. Most of our teams did not get, we did not have any outbreaks or quarantines. We might have an occasional kid who, because maybe from home or whatever, they had to quarantine. But we really went a lot better than I ever expected this year. I really didn't think we'd get near as much in as we did. Most of our teams got almost every one of their games in. The biggest thing would have been, since we were able to get games in for kids, there were some, the crowds, it wasn't the atmosphere they would like to have or we'd like to have. And of course that affected financially. We lost around $39,000 because the ticket sales reduced, with us not being allowed to have as many people in and limited numbers, and we couldn't host tournaments. Those are our big money makers. So that was revenue that you don't get back. For the most part, most of our sponsors, we lost a few sponsors, which is understandable because it hit them hard as well, but most of them were able to continue on, and that was very helpful as well. The good thing is that time last year when we closed out, and I do blame, I told her I blame her, our treasurer, Norma Gramlin, came in and just gave me the report for the last month and said, this is the highest we've ever had, the most money we've ever had in the athletic department. We're doing great. 2 weeks later, we got sent home. And so I kind of blame her. She jinxed us. But anyway, we got, so we were close to about 40,000 is what we lost this year. When I compare when we left to a year later at that same time. But like I said, we've done pretty good. Our coaches have done a great job. They do a great job helping out, purchasing a lot of uniforms and equipment on their own. So, we're back up on our feet, and hopefully next year will be like normal. Again, that kind of shifted on me a little bit when I sent it over here, but just kind of give you an idea of our football, boys basketball, and girls basketball. They're our 3 top revenue generators, not counting advertisement and then tournaments that we put on. And you can see 19-20, we had a good football season, plus 10,000. That's the most we've done since I've been here with football. Usually because it is an more expensive sport, usually we're plus 3 is a good year. We had plus 10 2 years ago. Boys basketball is plus 10. That was actually down. We're usually 16 or 17,000. Girls basketball was a good number right there for us, a couple thousand more than normal, and that was with the as much as we had to spend on that run as well. You see, this year 2021, football was only plus 687. Boys basketball plus 2,000, and that was only because we were allowed to open up late in the year. Girls basketball plus or negative 1,922, and we would have had a pretty good sized crowd in the gym, but they I think had one game they were allowed to have open or close to open, half capacity. So you can see the difference. We lost 9,000, over 9,000, 8,000, 7,000 in those for over about $25,000. So just kind of give you an idea how it hit us. But on brighter notes, just some of the improvements that we're trying to make. One of the things we want to try to do is improve our curbside appeal. And I know Mr. Acton's all about this. And just the marketing, try to get our logo out there, and we want something that people drive by, they see it looks great. A few years ago we installed a bronze lion with the limestone base. A lot of sponsors in town helped with that. I think that's been a great addition to the front of our building. We've added some windscreens to the football bleachers. We've upgraded a large video display in the gym. We had a sponsor local did that. We modified our scoreboards and made it kind of a college style. That was sponsored by another business. This summer we're going to add a retractable flag on that, so for national anthems they'll come out between the middle like you see colleges do, and then they'll go back up. So that's what we're going to do this summer. Of course, we've got window screens at the back of the gym entrances. We had a couple years ago, probably about 2 years ago, I think I met with the board and just said, we're going to do like a little three-phase thing. We're trying to improve our lobby, and that's what we got done. We did the Hall of Fame room was our first thing. We got that, moved the old vending machine around, got it cleaned up there. So that's a pretty nice little room in there. Then we did the collegiate wall, which we want to do there. The whole purpose of that is for kids to see that you don't have to be LeBron James or something like that to continue on to the next level. That we got a lot of kids that play at a lot of different levels and a lot of different sports, and we got a lot of the sports represented out there right now. There's more jerseys to put up. We're just waiting to receive some more. So once we got that completed, we started working on the next phase, which was the Lions Den. That's something we're pretty excited about. Hoosier Upland's grant paid for all this. And it's going to be, basically, it was going to start out as a hospitality room, but we want it to be a team room, something with the kids and the coaches. They can go do scouting reports. They can walk through, watch game film. They can have their pregame meals. Team meetings. It can be something where staff can come in and use it for if they want to have conferences, if they want to just kind of like a nice lounge as well. We want to use it, which we did this year already, for interviews, bring teachers or coaches in, just something that shows a lot of pride, and it's got our brand in there. That's kind of a run you through here real quick. It'll also be the hospitality room. This year we were selected to host the boys basketball sectional, and we do have the boys holiday tourney. So, we'll have it up full speed, and that's something where other schools will come in, and who knows, maybe attract some other people down the road when we're looking for coaches or whatnot, and they see what we've got here. We got embroidered kind of leather chairs. Not sure what the material would be, but they're pretty nice. We got those coming in. The table, you can disregard that. That'll come in. Those were back ordered. They'll come in 1st of July. So we got stuff to put up on the wall, other Salem stuff to put up yet. Just kind of gives you an idea what it's going to look like, though. But we'll have 3 conference tables in there, so it'll be great for meetings. We've got a buffet table there, whatever, when kids are eating, or if we're having a hospitality room. This is part of the project I'm real excited about. That wall right there, we're going to knock that wall out. We've had Scottsburg glass up here. They've already measured it off. They're going to put glass there. That sits above where the all-star jerseys are right now in the gym, and it'll look down during volleyball games, basketball games, whatever it may be. That'll be looking out over the court. Just, again, something else, just kind of give it that college look about it. So that'll be what you'll be looking at there. Again, there's the Hall of Fame room, if you haven't seen that. We did have to postpone last year's Hall of Fame, our 3 inductees, and we've already communicated with them. We're going to do that in the fall. So where they can have their families here, and we can have, hopefully everything's back up and running. So we do have 3 more on there. Just one of the walls, we've started moving on the other walls now because we filled this one up. We've got a lot of compliments from people from other schools who come in and see this. It's pretty unique. Kind of run through this. I couldn't remember if you said 4 to 5 minutes or 45 minutes, so I prepared for 45. But this will be for another time here. Probably a good idea. Probably should have done today with Dr. Thurston not here. Just talk about some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at for needs, for improvements. So we'll save that for the next time. But we do have a list of all our facilities and things that we could that are past due, that are going to need work to make it the best for our kids and possibly bring in other kids. So, does anybody have any questions? Anything I can answer?
You handed out the Mott's Group stuff, so you might explain to everybody what the Mott's Group stuff is in front of them.
Yeah, myself and Joe England. Again, I'm going to give a shout out to Joe England and his crew. A lot of these improvements that we've had, it's all been in-house. Those guys are tremendous. They get us a lot of stuff done. So, not only just running the school, but helping with athletics as well. But Joe, myself, and Mr. Opal, we went to DuPont, to Manuel DuPont, and they just recently had a field put in, a synthetic turf field. We were able to kind of go over there and see the pros and cons, and just see what it does for their community and for their kids and their athletes, what they've been able to do. The money it is an expense, but the money they've been able to generate by running tournaments and renting it out, and just a lot of positive. That's what the Mott's Group is. We've also just, we've been doing some research, talking to other schools who have synthetic turf fields. One of the things, like I said, our football field is in need of, it's got to be crowned. There's got a lot of work that needs to be done to it. A lot of people, you don't see it. It looks like it's okay. When it rains, you can see just different pools of water everywhere. The irrigation's outdated and most of it's broken. We can't get pieces for it. So that's another area. So we're going to have to put work into it and money into it. What we're working on right now is the cost analysis. Yes, there's a price tag on it, but when you see how many people can use it and what it can be used for, and you figure out the dollars per hour of use, you'll see that the number for synthetic turf, the hours per use goes down. It comes down to about 39 to 60, depending on how many groups you're letting use it, compared to right now with the regular turf and with weather and everything else. Usually it's somewhere around $200 an hour to use it. So that's kind of the angle we're going to look at there. And going to that open house they had was very informative, I think. They got the handout. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty interesting that I already had a lot of information on it, but sitting there and being able to talk to them in a one-on-one was great.
You went to that as well?
Yes, and I put down the things I could remember, I could remember on the handout there. It was a softer field than a lot of turf fields, I believe.
Yeah.
They had some reason for that, because I think soccer ball could go quicker, faster or something.
Yeah, this was a field hockey and lacrosse field, and they need the ball to run a different way than you would if you're running a football or you're playing soccer or whatever. So, yeah, it can be tailored to what you need for your fields. Again, one of the bonuses of that is right now our PE, and I don't have these numbers up here right now, but our PE uses it probably less than 50 hours a year, because during the football season you want to stay off of it because it's already getting wear and tear. When it's raining, you can't, or it has rained, you can't be on there. In the spring, we don't use it a whole lot because we're trying to seed it, we're trying to plug it. And when talking to other schools, I had an in-depth conversation with Southridge ex-AD. He was the one who got the field there. Just looking at the number, now their kids can use it all the time. Like their PE kids use it 700 hours a year compared to our 50. So there's just, you got your middle school, you play your Little League games on there. They can practice on there. Soccer, we don't have lights on our soccer field. Now we could possibly host a soccer sectional because we could have it here. Baseball, softball, rained out early in the season. As Rodney knows, that's a bad time of the year to get out on the field. You can come out here and practice on a football field with baseball and softball. So just a lot of advantages, and just something that, like I said, later down the road, I'd like to discuss, and as we're still putting our numbers together.
Yeah, it was interesting stuff. So at Southridge, I know me and Ray was there on the field and talked to their. When you talk about field usage, you just think we're just putting in turf. Well, no, to use for everything you're doing right now, we're only utilizing it for a certain amount of hours in a whole school year. Whereas if you have that, all sports use it, and it just going from 50 to 700 hours of usage. Not to mention, the thing everybody's struggling with is help to maintain your school right now outside anyways. A lot of good information. Hank's done the work. Ray, thanks for going and giving us some of that information as well.
It's like, when we've talked about, Ms. Harmon was in our committee as well. Like band right now, for the most part, when they're performing, it gets pretty rainy. Sometimes we figure probably 10 hours a year they get on there.
Yeah.
But then they got to go compete on all these fields. This is something they can practice on every day. So I mean, it reaches a lot of different groups.
Yeah.
So.
It's great,
Thanks, Hank.
great information. Thank you.
So we don't confuse anybody, no, we're not putting infield turf this year. We have not hit the lottery yet, but it is something that we'll continue to discuss, and kind of takes me into a little bit of my aspect here. I'm sorry, Hank, I should have clicked through these for you. Okay. Seeing some of those pictures, I'm glad I didn't click through them. I want to do a relatively broad overview of something we've been working on for several months. Our version of a strategic long-term planning. Our board has the information. Thank everyone that's on the stage. Everyone served on a different committee looking at this, defining the Salem box. And by doing that, what I mean is you have to define the good, the bad, and the ugly. Where are we? And that's how you start to move forward with any organization, but specifically with our school district. What are we doing well, and what are things that we can do better? So we identified 8 specific areas, 8 different committees, 3 different meetings, and the task was to find out what our immediate needs are, our immediate wants, and then our long-term wants, because there's a difference between your needs and your wants. And I think we all understand that, if just what you want to do in your own household. So we broke these into these 8 different committees, and we had a building administrator or a district administrator in charge of committee, and then we had a board member assigned. And so each of these different aspects, each of these different committees, they work together. You cannot separate just one. They're all going to be intertwined here as we look at how we're going to move forward as a district, and what are things that we can do quickly, and what are things that we need to do in a more long-term approach. But I'll tell you where we're starting out. This is the beginning of the discussions. That's what this really is. We're scratching the surface about topics that maybe we haven't talked about, maybe ever at Salem. But we got to talk about them as things have changed. So Ms. Jen Lawyer was in charge of our academic committee with board member Ray Opal. And what they came up with, and what I imagine is going to happen with each of these committees as we continue to dive deeper into these and have other discussions, the immediate needs may change as we continue our discussions. But this is where we are at right now. We're about to begin PLCs, which are called professional learning communities. They'll start this fall, which is in 7 weeks, by the way. That's the next school year. But our PLCs will begin the process of really identifying the steps this week. So this Wednesday and Thursday, our building administrators are in all-day trainings with a young lady we've hired named Carrie Rosebrock, who is a PLC kind of expert. And she's going to help us create PLCs for Salem, not a PLC for another district. What fits us? What are we going to utilize and start to put in the process for Salem? Second need that they addressed was our instructional assistants need some updated support, updated training. Instructional assistants have really become quasi-instructors, and we need everybody on the same page. And staff curricular trainings. As things have adjusted and things have changed, we need everyone on the, I wouldn't even say on the same page. We just need people to identify what the curricular offerings, our aspects and programs are in each building, because we're adding things, subtracting some things that we no longer utilize, and things that we're going to be adding into our programming. So those were 3 immediate needs of our academic committee. All those are combined, and with many of the other aspects that they looked at, that determines our academic success, which determines our success for our kids, which determines their ability to go compete in the real world. Because this group has heard me say this before, our kids have to go compete against kids in Washington County, in the state of Indiana, across the United States, and now globally. So what we do to prepare them academically is going to determine their ability to have success in these different avenues. Our athletic committee, and I don't want to steal Hank's thunder because he did an outstanding job. Hank obviously led the athletic committee. Rodney was part of this as our board representative. We had a little bit of discussion this earlier, but how do we retain and recruit quality coaches? There's a decline. There's an education shortage. The popular term is there's a teacher shortage. There's an educator shortage. Whether it's coaches, bus drivers, instructional assistants, there's an educator shortage, and that includes coaches. I don't know if you've ever been in that role, but sometimes it's not quite that much fun to get yelled at by people when you are not getting overly compensated. No one in our staff and our coaches are getting Nick Saban salary. Many people are donating their time. So how do we bring in people into the Salem family and retain them, which will be a major aspect of how we're going to move our athletic program forward. Youth sports numbers, youth sports are down across the country. Not unique here to Salem. Youth sports participation is down. Other aspects have become more interesting for youth, like using something like this with a video game. Success builds success. If you build it, they will come. The more success we have, the more kids are want to be involved in different programs. So it's a cycle aspect of what we will need to do to bring kids into our athletic fold. And facility improvements. I buzzed through the part of Hank's presentation, which I didn't know they were on the slides. I apologize. We have some really nice facilities. They were state-of-the-art several years ago. They have held their ground for many years. But like anything, you have to do some updates. As Hank's pointed out, some of our athletic aspects that we could use some improvements. Our field house is, 30 years old. Our high school was built in the 50s, and it is well maintained. There's a catch-22 with that. When you take good care of things, you don't think you have to make some improvements. People like shiny. Charlestown's brand new facility. People like shiny. So what can we do for bang for the bucks to enhance our facilities without blowing our budget? Those will be interesting discussions that we have to have, because it's not just our athletic facilities that need improvements. So do our academics. So do our fine arts. Fine arts, I think we're going to do a great job taking care of with our safe room projects, which takes us to Fine Arts Committee. Nicole Caldwell was our building administrator. Mr. Trueblood was our representative. And the immediate needs here, I think it's already been ordered. Is that right, Brent?
I don't know if it's been ordered yet. It's on the list.
Okay. Some quick immediate needs. Some of these we can do quickly because of ESSER funding. The stage curtain at the elementary was probably put up in the 1960s, I'm assuming, the original equipment.
Same one from when I was in school.
And that's just a reality around the country. That's okay. But it could use an update. We have the funding with federal funds to do that, so we'll take care of that. That's a quick one. Bang, we can do that one. But as you look at this, not only has youth sports had some participation issues, so fine arts. COVID has been devastating. It has been devastating for multiple aspects, but in impacting our fine arts programming. It was hard to be in the band or hard to sing when the CDC and the health departments kept saying, don't sing, don't blow your mouth on instruments. It's really hard to do those activities. which impacted the ability for kids to be involved. Easy one, I think we started to do this and COVID shut us down, but displaying student work. We have some outstanding students with talent, with three-dimensional art, two-dimensional art, that we need to promote them and put their works up around our schools. And I think this is really interesting, an alumni database. Who are our rock stars that have gone through our programs? They don't have to be on the big screen to be making a living based on their fine arts aspects. Who's working at theater? Who's working the light somewhere? Who's a composer? We need to find those individuals and recognize them, and if one of them happens to be a millionaire, we'd really like to meet them and bring them back into the fold. Finances Committee, Brett Miller was in charge, or led the committee as a chair. Dr. Thurston provided peppy insight on our finances. But what surprised me is Doc said we need to spend money, which I made sure he was on medication, but we need to work on what are we going to spend to market our district. Said these all go hand in hand. We'll get to a marketing committee in shortly. Analyze our staffing versus student needs and numbers. Our enrollment has declined. Our staffing numbers have not. There gets to a tipping point. What are we going to do? How do we increase staff salaries versus staff numbers? What are the needs of our students versus what we can and cannot offer? And then prioritizing the needs. Certified positions, classified positions, and administration. All future discussion aspects, but are all exceptionally important as we move our district forward to determine where we're going to get the most bang for the buck, where are we going to make our advancements. Facilities Committee, Mr. Hickey, our chair, Becky was our board member, had some analyzed our current facilities, and again, it's not just athletics that we are looking at. Wi-Fi access, we've made tremendous gains with Wi-Fi access, but what I've learned is you can't ever have enough. We have some spots in our community where Wi-Fi just does not exist. So how do we bridge the gaps there? We have some dead spots in our buildings. It's really kind of hard to explain. Here's Wi-Fi, go 4 feet, and there's no Wi-Fi. So how do we make those adjustments? That's what our tech department does a great job, but how can we make even better improvements? And they did a great job identifying needs at each of our buildings. Some of these are big ticket items, some of them are small ticket items, all worthy of discussion, all important, and it depends on which building you're at, what you think is the most important. I'll tell you that. We talked about some of the athletic aspects, but if your cafeteria is too small or is antiquated, and you're in the elementary, you think that's a #1 priority. So everyone has an idea of what is important. The whole idea is, with any facility improvement, how do we put the best facilities forward for our kids with this real simple statement? Because they deserve it. So what do we do to provide the best for our kids and not break the bank? There's the $1 million question, right? Personnel Committee, Mr. Albert was the chair. Allison was our board member. Came up with 3 rules, I wouldn't say simple concepts, 3 targeted areas and competitive salaries. How do we pay our staff what they are worth? Are we competitive with our neighbors? Are we competitive with different areas of the state of Indiana? Talked about an educator shortage. If you're a student coming out of one of our universities, I'm going to put John on the spot. We talked about, wasn't it science? What was that conversation about how many kids were coming out of the program?
I think I heard that from IU Bloomington. They had 3 biology people certified this year that are coming out.
So 3 students coming out of Indiana University with biology degree. They can pick where they want to go. So one of those aspects is probably going to be based on salary for those kids. Location, you want to go back to your alma mater, those type aspects. But how you compensate people for new hires, for seasoned veterans, those are all important aspects. Insurance, it's been a constant conversation. I agree with what Rodney said. We made a tremendous stride today. I can't overstate how much I think people are going to like the clinic, how it's going to help just some of the convenience of life. That's one step. We have more to go. And individual praise, I'm a climate and culture guy. Praising across the district, having individual buildings praise their staff, having staff praise each other. I'm a big proponent of the fish philosophy and how you move people, how you move organizations. In fact, we're working on hopefully a partnership that's going to be long-lasting with the fish philosophy people in Salem Community Schools. Those are 3 simple statements up there, but there's going to take some effort. They're going to take some discussions. How we're going to move forward with these aspects. Marketing committee, Kevin was the chair, board member was Becky. What is our brand? What is our logo? That's a simple one, right? It is not. How many different lines do we have, John? 11 different line logos. What is Salem? How are we identified around the state of Indiana? And every line logo is important to that individual group. So Bonnie doesn't have a heart attack. No, we're not removing the Van Lions. No, but it is when you drive down the road and you see a lion logo that looks like that, do you recognize and go, oh, that's Salem? There's where we got to get to. That's only one small part of the marketing aspect. We have 3 phenomenal rooms that are about to come online. The only school in the state of Indiana, the only school in the Midwest that will have safe tornado rooms that protect kids at all levels of a district. We're the only ones. We're going to get some national media attention from the Department of Homeland Security for the creation of these safe rooms. We need to utilize that and spin that to the best of our ability. The STEAM program, we had a group this summer, not this summer, we had a group this spring that went up and visited Plainfield Community Schools to look at their 2 different STEAM programs in their facilities. We are creating our version of our STEAM facility, which is that combination of the safe room. We will be the only school in Washington County to have this program, to have these options for kids. I think it's pretty remarkable what we're going to be able to create. That's just with the academic component. With the STEAM component, the fine arts wing will be just as impressive. High school has an A letter grade. We started that marketing aspect. We have signs out in the front and the back of the school. We really want to be able to market all 3 layers of our school corporation. I'm glad the high school is A. Now I want the middle school. I want the elementary to be that. I want our corporation to be an A-rated district. We get that, the marketing machine will be up and running nonstop. Our surrounding schools will not like me very much if we are all A's. All they're going to do is hear about our success. And utilizing some more expenditures, how do we promote billboards, media outlets, different aspects. Community committee, this was the last and potentially maybe the most difficult because we don't have the ability to have a direct impact like we can on some of the other components. We're going to set the guidelines for PLC, but we don't have the ability to just tell Salem and our community, this is what you need to do. We have to be a partner. Our youth programs, enhancing that aspect, getting more people involved and working with the city and the Parks and Rec Department. How do we increase participation and in varied aspects instead of maybe the traditional football, baseball, basketball, soccer? What other aspects do interest the kids? How do we get them a part of the Salem family? Becoming a more inclusive community. That'll be a deeper dive on conversations. But if you're trying to find a community to move into, what aspects are you looking at? Where do you feel safe? Where do you feel invited? Where do you feel welcome? And just growing our city, our image, our partnerships. How do we help with this aspect? School is the central focus on lots of different areas. Salem Community Schools is is the hub of our community. How are we a good partner? How can we help Salem? How can Salem help us? There'll be interesting conversations because we would like to see developments. We would like to see infrastructure expanded. We would like to see people say, this is the destination we want to be in. Where do we move to? So how do we help with that? I'm not a builder, but it'd be really cool to get some builders say, we want to bring our work into Salem to provide opportunities for people to move here. And one of the phrases I called a brain drain. I want the best and the brightest. I want everybody that's a Salem grad, our young alumni who have just graduated, I want them to come back. But we got to have a spot for them. There's got to be a place for people to live, people to raise their families. So how do we help with this aspect? So where does this leave us to? What's next? Discuss, reflect, dive deep into these conversations, and repeat. Some of these are more complicated concepts than others, but each of them are going to require multiple conversations. And then I call it the triage list with doable action steps. What is things that we can do right now? And what are the action steps for us to take within the first 3 months, within the first 6 months, within this first year? What do we do to move our corporation forward and handle each of these 8 different aspects? This is the beginning. This is just the beginning of what's going to be a long process, multiple years here process, of how we move Salem Community Schools forward. I use this phrase a lot, Salem Community Schools, the best small school corporation in the state. I mean that. Now how do we start backing it up with all of our data, which we will. This is the beginning process of that. So, with that, I'm going to be quiet because I can ramble on each of these. The board has a more detailed aspect of the presentation. We'll continue these conversations and see how we're going to move forward. Does anybody have any questions on this side? No. Okay. Board, I'm going to wait for your questions later because you've done a bunch of work on this already. But comments on anything that we heard from Hank or from the strategic planning?
Yeah, some of the things that me and Hank talked about initially when we first formed the committee is, we are the county seat here in the city of Salem, and through COVID, you may see me in McDonald's parking lot, Walmart parking lot on a Zoom meeting on my phone because I think I've done 1,000 Zoom meetings with 1,000 different people. But I am on a committee now with Area 5 and our mayor to more partnership and to be a part of us. I mean, I think we have to be strong together in order to do a lot of the things that they're talking about in this strategic plan. Whether it's facilities for young kids or it's offerings for health and wellness, whatever. We have to build a strong team here in the city in order for us to grow, both for them and for us. Yes, Mr. Suvat.
I just want to stand and say that, first of all, I think this is great. No question about strategic long-term planning. But I really wanted to comment that I have to believe that there are people in the community, should there help be needed on any of these groups, that could be tapped. And I mean, I certainly would be willing to be involved, and I don't know how you see this going forward, but I would just suggest that maybe there are opportunities to tap some people in the community, bring them in, get them involved, and to move this thing along. But I think it's a great idea.
I think through these committees you have included some.
Yeah, each of these committees have had community partnerships and members, but you hit where we're going to be heading. We're going to be asking for additional help because, like I said, these are just immediate needs. The wants are more complicated conversations where we're going to need community input and community partnerships and just community conversations. So I'll give you first dibs on which group you want to join, but we're going to be tapping you and many others for more conversations. I think it's a pretty cool time. But this is not a one-month fix. This is going to take a while to go through some of these aspects.
And I think, Mr. Suvak, that these committees could be more impactful than serving on the school board, because you form, you look for those problems and you solve them through knowing grants or resources or whatnot that brings, to our school that maybe somebody else doesn't know or whatnot. It's just like the LifeSpring deal here. That started as, I think, an email. And then me and Brent was going back and forth, and he researched it. So the more of that we can do, collaboration, as with our city and local business owners, retired business owners, or anybody, I think helps out our school system and our town. So he just wrote you down for the. Any other questions, comments? Huh? It is, and I will take note. Hank did all of ours, so and it's good. It's good stuff.
You're gonna give him all the blame too.
I gave him all the credit. I'll back him up. I'm here to back him up, but he did all the work. So, no more questions, concerns. New board business.
I don't know if that's where we need to bring it up, but one of the things with our ESSER 3 funding is we have to have a return to school plan, which we have, and we've posted that plan, and we've allowed public comment, which that was the other part of it. And so it's still out there if anyone wants to comment on it, but the return to school plan, which is probably going to change a little bit come July 1st when the guidelines change and it switches from the the county health department making the guidelines to the school board making guidelines as far as the return to school.
I'll echo that. They've done a great job putting the documents together and the planning and adjusting. And although it's going to change dramatically, I think we're all kind of excited that it's going to change dramatically. So what's up is going to be adjusted. But we're excited to be able to adjust what we're displaying.
Yeah, I think some people read that and saw that we were going to stay with some of the COVID protocols, and there's a lot.
No, I hope not.
There's a lot of us up here not. So hopefully we can get back to normal.
Agreed.
Any more? New board business? Any more comments on that? Any questions or concerns down there? Richard, hear me? Any questions or concerns on that? You good? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Primarily mine was the strategic long-term planning. Just tell the board we're going to be doing a little bit of our marketing with some of our Sagamores of Salem's, where we're targeting some individuals that are outside the community, superintendent preference. But we have some individuals in the field of education that are retiring. Dr. Wally Bork, Dr. Terry McDaniel, who actually led the superintendent search at Salem, Dr. Burke at Indiana University, Dr. McDaniel at Indiana State University. We want to be able to recognize them for their years of service in the field of education and promote them with our Salem Award. And in our schools at all three buildings, we have a sign that's has Zach Sobiak, the individual young man who passed away from cancer. The Disney movie Clouds is based on his life. I had an opportunity to correspond with Ms. Sobiak over the years, so officially the Sobiak family is going to be getting a Sagamore Salem Award for our appreciation of their family, what they've endured, and their support of cancer research for people all over the world. So as I come up with more aspects where we can recognize and put the Salem name out there, I'll continue to share it. With that, I'll head to positive praises. And I've picked three really simple ones because I don't want to take away thunder from anybody. The class of 21 seniors, we said this with some messages we put out in social media, but last year's group, the class of 2020, they had such a horrible end to the year, but 3/4 of the year was what you would call normal. class of 21, and there's been nothing normal about their existence. So from last March until now, I don't know if there's been a group in the history of education that's had to overcome and endure more than this senior class. So my words are hollow, but I really appreciate and congratulate what they've done. And they've represented Salem with nothing but class. And the same thing goes to our staff. There's not a single person that hasn't had their world turned upside down since last March. Not a single person. How we were all trained to perform and do our duties, you can throw it out the window. So how everyone has managed, not just managed, has overcome and succeeded, we can't thank enough, but we're going to try to do some showing of some appreciation here in the future. And I already said it, we're 7 weeks away from starting. That idea that there were 3 minutes off in the summer, boy, that's a long gone, long gone. So, and the last thing I have to say is, Andrew James, how are you? My monster is here with us tonight, and he's done a pretty good job. So, thank you, buddy. Love you.
With that one, we're going to start with Richard because Richard always has to go last. So, yes. You're on. You're on.
You're good.
You're live.
I guess, first of all, I thought the graduation went very well. It was maybe a pretty rough year, but the graduation, I thought, went pretty smoothly. I was impressed. I also proud of the band, was named Grand Marshal of the band of the parade, and they were proud of that fact. It was a terribly hot day, and everybody on vacation. As Bonnie said, half of her looking at the attendance. They were in Arizona and Texas and everywhere, but and couldn't be in the parade. But I think we made them look pretty sharp, and so I think we're all ready to start anew and be stronger and all the activities working better. I know the kids are anxious for that very, very much. The little time we've gotten them back together, they're pretty thrilled as they get. So that's it. Thank you.
I'll agree with Richard. The graduation went great. I have one more grandchild that graduates next year, so then I'll be finished for a while. I'd like to commend the schools struggled with the online learning this year. A lot of them did, and in talking to Troy Albert, I want to commend his staff because I understand the high school did pretty well with the online learning activities they had, with a lot of kids completing their work. Also, the graduation rate is going to be around 94%, so commend him for that. Also, I was talking to a teacher, a staff member, and mentioned that Troy had reached out to her when she was struggling a little bit, make sure she was doing fine. So I want to appreciate him for that. And lastly, I'll bring up my two things. My grandson Brody was named to the All-Commerce baseball team, and Peyton Arthur was honorable mention for the conference baseball. So those things. Brag on him one last time.
I thought yesterday at the fair parade, I thought Salem Community Schools had a very nice representation with the band and the cheerleading and the football team. And we were the only school in the county that had participation, so I thought that was really nice. And like you said, it was extremely hot. And those kids just went on about it, and they looked great. So I thought that was a really nice.
I wasn't able to attend graduation. I went and saw my first grandchild in Florida. My wife scheduled that. Of course, I wanted to go, so I didn't make. So to the 2021 graduates, congratulations. Take what you've learned in the wonderful community of Salem, go off with it, learn more, and come back and give to your community, support your community, bring things that you've learned from outside your community, because it's going to be very important at some point. And that's one of the biggest things we want to build in our city, in our community as a whole, is we want our kids to continue to come back to our community, because that's going to allow our community to continue to grow more and more.
I would like to thank and just say how proud I am of just the whole elementary, but specifically Jen Lawyer, Clinton Blankenbecker, Nicole Caldwell, Leslie Slaughter, the counseling staff, LifeSpring, that in the loss of Mrs. Wells this year, they really stepped up and kind of dealt with what others didn't want to deal with, or that you never want to deal with, and just how wonderful everybody was to show up for the kids, and just to put plans in motion, and the love and support that they showed one another was just incredible to witness, and I'm just thankful that that's who we have leading that building.
From a softball standpoint, we had Callie Backerms and Bailey Hypes made all conference, and Carly Sweeney made honorable mention, and Callie made all state academic in 3 sports this year. So she was a great leader for us. Who's going on to Evansville. Bailey's going on to Wilmington University, and Carly's going to be an elementary teacher, she tells us. We'll see. But she'll be a great elementary teacher. But also, you took that away from me, for Jen Lawyer and her staff, and losing Mrs. Wells was an awful time. But if you've never walked around with our janitorial staff over there, they're rock stars, and everybody knows them on the days that we were over with them. So there's a lot of people doing good things out there, and we appreciate each and every one. You got everything, Tom, Brent.
I'll just say, I want to throw out there that we have a lot of staff members that give back to the community in different ways, and I want to recognize Shelley Smith and Stacy Gilbert and their work that they've done with the fair and booth, the fair parade, and things like that. And I think we mentioned earlier Keen Garvin with helping with the band also. So it's great to see our staff giving back to the community in other ways too.
Definitely is. Definitely is. We have a lot of people doing a lot of different things. Hardneck, any more? Anybody in the crowd want to give a positive praise? George, you're always positive. You always text me with positive stuff.
I thank Allison last month. She did her positive praises, and I got like 4 stories in the newspaper out of it.
Okay, well, there you go. Glad I could help you out.
Art award winners and things like that, so. And Clinton Blankenbecker said, hey, don't just put those pictures in the paper of the unified track. Do something on Mrs. Morgan, who's retiring after 25 years. And I said, I'm going to Clinton. Give me a chance.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming and covering us. Anybody else got anything? Our next regular meeting will be July the 12th, 2021, probably at 5:30. If I can get a motion to adjourn.
No, 5:30 you mean executive session.
Executive session. I'll start at 5:30. Sorry. Allison makes a motion.
Session.
Becky seconds. All those in favor.
Forget to sign.
Gotcha.